Hi everyone, how are we doing? A bit of a different video for you today. I teased it yesterday on the channel right at the end saying I was going to a football match today. I know Wednesday afternoon. Hamish, what are you doing going to the football? I love football, and that's why I'm here. I think it's called the Penny Cars Stadium now. It used to be the Excelsior. It's the ground of Airdrie or Airdrieonians. I'm not quite up to date with that. A complicated issue all round, but the simpler thing is that I'm here to watch the Celtic B team who are in action in what's known as the City of Glasgow Cup, a competition that features the Celtic Colts team or B team, the Rangers Colts or B team, as well as the supposed first teams of Partick Thistle, who you can probably hear over there, as well as Clyde and Queen's Park. We'll get into all of this and why I'm here and my thoughts on how today could go in the Celtic team, etc. in a minute, but we'll just treat it as a normal video prior to that, and I'll go through some of the news that's happening with regards to Celtic. And there's not a great deal of it, if I'm totally honest. We said, I think yesterday on the channel, that it feels a bit like the calm before the storm. No midweek game for Celtic this week, the first time that's happened, I think, away since the start of January. So not as much news happening. There are a few wee bits and bobs to get through though. The big talking point online over the last 24 hours or so has been the retirement of Scott Brown. We touched on it yesterday on the channel. At that point it hadn't been confirmed. It was then confirmed last night by his former club now, Aberdeen, who said Brown was now looking to take the next steps in his coaching career. Now where those next steps are is yet unknown. There have been murmurings of him going to join Neil Lennon in Cyprus at Ammonia Nicosia. Lennon did want to bring in another former Celtic player, Mark Fotheringham, but that move fell through, I think due to finances. So reports today that Brown could potentially be an option to go and join Lennon out in Cyprus, which would be some laugh, let's face it. Also more, interesting reports to us anyway, that Brown would be welcome back to Celtic in a coaching capacity. Now this report comes from David Friel, who is by all accounts a pretty reliable source of Celtic news. I think he's still got contacts at the club. He reckons that Celtic could offer Brown a shot at coaching level, potentially actually at B team level, with a view to moving up the ranks. I would definitely be a fan of getting Scott Brown back to the club. He's been such a huge figure at Celtic. He's been perhaps the biggest figure at Celtic over the last 10-15 years. That's probably a fair comment. Now, a lot of people shoehorning him into Ange's coaching team, I think that's a bit over the top, and to be honest I don't think it's really viable. I can't see him working with the likes of Kennedy, Strachan, Ange and McManus. I just don't think there's room in that coaching team at the moment. And also we can't have it both ways. At the start of the year everyone was chatting about not wanting a former Celtic player just foisted upon Ange, and I think as much as we love Scott Brown, we kind of can't have it both ways and say we'd love to see him in working with the backroom team. I think a gig at the youth team level working with the B team would be invaluable to those players. Whether Brown sees his coaching career starting there at Celtic, I'm not so sure. He has been coaching and playing at Aberdeen a relatively high level this season. He was also, by all accounts, in the running for the St Mirren job that went up a couple of weeks ago, so he may well see his level at the moment has been higher than the Celtic B team. And obviously we don't even know yet if Brown is actually going to hang up his boots, because I don't think he's ruled out continuing to play. But it's one to watch. I think Celtic will clearly find a role for Brown in the youth setup, like they have with the likes of Darren O'Day and Stephen McManus in the past, if that's what Scott Brown wants. But I get the impression he might see his current level as being a little bit higher than that. Now, moving on, and as you'll probably have heard, Scotland's playoff against Ukraine next month at Hampden has been postponed due to the ongoing conflict in that country. Scotland are still due to play a couple of friendlies next month. The chat is that it's going to be Poland and either Wales or Austria that are being lined up. Celtic have a pretty large Scotland contingent at the moment of current Scotland internationals who would probably be in the squad next month. I think we had 4 starting at Livingston on Sunday: James Forrest, Callum McGregor, Greg Taylor, Anthony Ralston. So as much as I'm a big Scotland fan, I'll be interested to see whether these players play for their country in meaningless friendlies next month. I'm not a huge fan of the idea of a Greg Taylor or a Ralston or a Forrest or a McGregor getting injured in a friendly for Scotland and missing Celtic's crucial run-in. So it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on that. In terms of the Celtic first team, we're next in action on Monday night in the Scottish Cup quarter-final at Tannadice against Dundee United. Sorry to bring the mood down, everyone, but John Beaton is going to be the referee for that one. He has had a couple of Celtic matches fairly recently. He refed our away wins to Hearts and Motherwell earlier this year, so he's been a decent omen in 2022, but as we know, that hasn't always been the case with John Beaton, and certainly we know where he likes to drink from time to time. We will, of course, build up to the big game at Tannadice in the coming days, probably from tomorrow onwards when Scott McDonald joins us on the channel. But for now, let's turn attention to what's happening today. It's Celtic against Partick Thistle in what's known as the City of Glasgow Cup. You probably know it as the Glasgow Cup, a competition with a lot of history. It used to be played for by the full Celtic and Rangers teams. There is a lot of history going back. Nowadays, it's a mainly youth competition, but it does feature, in theory, the full teams of Partick Thistle, Clyde and Queen's Park. I'm not expecting to see the full Partick Thistle team today. It's going to mainly be a youth setup, given that they played a match in the Scottish Championship last night. In terms of the format of this competition, 5 teams, as I say, they all play each other once in a round-robin competition, with the top 4 finishing sides going on to play a semi-final and a final. Celtic have drawn all 3 of their matches in this competition so far, including most notably on Saturday here when we drew 1-1 with Rangers. You probably caught bits and bobs of that game. So it's not really a must-win for Celtic today. As always with the youth team, it's going to be about, improvement and seeing what players can impress and continue their development. There's a couple of interesting things to note from the team. I'll give you it now. There on the left, Oluwayemi, Dedi, Patterson, Corr, Murray, Carse, Dembele, Litsoza, Kenny, Moffat and Johnston. Now, the big one that jumps out there is Mikey Johnson. I'm assuming it's Mikey Johnson. I've only got the surname there. It must be Mikey Johnson. Interesting to see how he gets on today. He hasn't been seen for Celtic since the Scottish Cup tie against Raith Rovers about, a month or so ago. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on today. Hopefully comes through it injury-free. The likes of Owen Moffat, Johnny Kenny is well excited to actually see what he's about. The bench, by the way, is Lawal, McLean, McKenzie, Ur, Dawson, Vata and Doak. Dawson and Doak have already seen first team action this season, so there's plenty to get our teeth into in today's game. Partick Thistle wise, I can't actually get hold of their team. They're treating the game with so much respect, they've not even stuck their team on social media. But I'm looking forward to today. It's a kind of overcast day in Airdrie. The crowd I don't think is going to be particularly high. You can tell all the unemployed people. So yeah, something a little bit different for you today on the channel. We're getting into it. You can probably hear the shouts getting louder and louder. We're about 10 minutes away from kick-off. The tunes are, well, not blaring, but they're on. And let's hope Celtic can get a victory. Right, half time everyone, the players are just walking off the pitch. Celtic have got a 2-0 lead. We've been by far the better team, should have actually been ahead by more. Had the ball in the net shortly after the opening goal as well. The goals have come from a couple of players that you'll probably be familiar with. Johnny Kenny got the opener, a typical kind of striker's finish that we'll want to see more from him if he does make it indeed in the first team. And Karamoko Dembele added the second. A really classy goal, really good switch of the play towards Dembele, who always hangs out on the right hand side, and he just kind of cut in and put it into the corner. He's been excellent. He just looks so skillful. We saw him before the game doing his tricks and stuff, and he's just got incredible feet. And yeah, Celtic have been brilliant. We had the ball in the net for a third time, Dane Murray, but he was adjudged to have been offside. Thistle haven't offered a great deal. They did have a shot that just whizzed by the post just before half time, but Celtic are well in command here. Yeah, of the players that you would really kind of be interested in hearing about, as I say, Dembele has been excellent. Johnny Kenny has kind of taken the knocks and held the ball in well. He kind of seems to be quite quick. His first touch isn't always great, but he always seems to keep the ball and move it on. Mikey Johnson's been okay as well. Maybe expecting slightly more from him. He did go down injured after a couple of minutes, which I think everyone was a little bit concerned, but I think it was more of a contact injury. Dane Murray is playing well. He just shouts and shouts and shouts, as does the goalkeeper, Oluwayemi. But in general, I think it's been pretty good from Celtic, and we'll see what the second half has to offer. Yeah, I'm going to call this one early. Celtic are 3-0 up, we've got about 10 minutes to go. Celtic are just streets ahead of Partick Thistle. Mikey Johnson got the third goal, pretty good finish as well. Karamoko Dembele's been excellent in the second half, just playing near to me here on the right hand side, just a constant menace. His movement's really good, his first touch is excellent, and yeah, Thistle just can't really deal with Celtic. I mean, Celtic are just streets ahead, and there's probably another goal or two in this game if Celtic really wanted. Joey Dawson has come on, big presence. I think we saw him once for the first team this season. He really gets stuck in. I quite like him actually. Johnny Kenny in general is quite good as well, so there's certainly a lot to be excited about the future for this team. And you know, there's a number of players on the bench that we haven't even seen yet today, like Ben Doak, Bosun Lawal, who is so impressive. I know John McGinley rates him highly, so there's a lot of strength and depth in this Celtic team, and certainly a few more goals. Nearly right on cue, nearly went 4-0 there. It just skewed wide of the post, but I think the things that have impressed me about this Celtic team today, a couple of kind of takeaways that you see in the first team as well. The fact that we're so keen to take set pieces quickly. The minute the ball goes out of the park, someone's racing over to take it, whether it's a throw in or a corner. On the corners, we've been taking them short quite often, which is good to see. The last time I was here in the Lowland League against Broomhill FC, there was a lot of the inverting fullbacks going on. There's not been nearly as much of that today, but you can certainly see the identity of a Celtic team. Even a youth team like this, there's real identity to this side. They do things quickly, they try and play out from the back, and I think Ben Doak's just getting ready to come on, so there's a lot of talent in this team, and you know, that's us safely through to the semi-finals, and we'll see what happens from there. But yeah, been an enjoyable day. Hopefully you've enjoyed a wee bit of a different look on the channel. Hopefully Celtic got a few more goals in them. You check the score and it was actually 6 or 7-0, and I missed most of the goals. I'm going to say they've got at least one more in them. But yeah, thanks for watching. Give us a sub, of course, as always. And we're back tomorrow when Scott McDonald will be with me. Speak to you then.